I live with my wife and mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is like a mother to me. She will always help, listen and support. She cooks deliciously and there is always something to talk about with her. I am very used to her constant presence at home, and our house has become her home as well. I always try to make her feel comfortable, to live in warmth, love and prosperity. I also felt understanding and support from her. She could give advice, teach how to cook a dish. And how wonderfully she played the piano. Every evening, we sat down for dinner, had dinner together, talked. She asked each family member how the day went, making sure that everyone was doing well. She went to wash the dishes, and played the piano for the rest of the evening. My wife and I couldn't stop listening to this wonderful music. She knew how to play everything in the world, from Bach to The Weeknd. All genres, music of all times and peoples. She had an amazing ear and a great voice. She rarely sang, but when she sang, we sat, listened and could not tear ourselves away. Of course, the experience of her musical active life was almost comparable to her age. She has a lifelong tradition of playing the piano after dinner. Thank God we do not live in an apartment, although it plays so well that I think none of the neighbors would be against it. She was a very interesting and well-read person. Every birthday for me, every birthday for my wife, she prepared a surprise. And each time the surprises were superior at times. Either she will give us trips to neighboring countries, she will bake unforgettable cakes, she will come up with a song especially for me, she will knit a toy, or she will decorate the house in the style of our favorite Marvel characters with my wife. Mother-in-law made every holiday unforgettable. I have never met such creative people. She woke up very early in the morning, read a book, always picking up a book of different genres and authors each time, then walked along the embankment, got acquainted with passers-by. Every day she set a goal to meet one new person. She said that the secret of success and happiness is in new acquaintances. New people will bring new emotions and new knowledge, she said. Every day you need to overtake yourself in something of the past day, you cannot stand still, otherwise you will quickly grow old and become a boring old man. Every Saturday she went to a charity center and helped those in need. Also, I am 100% sure that we all do not know about it to this day. Once every few days she went somewhere. She said that she went to a neighboring city to the central department store. But one day, I went out 3 minutes after she left, and accidentally caught up with her. She got on a bus that was heading in the opposite direction. I was surprised, she did not notice me and I decided to follow her. I got into the car and started chasing the bus. And then the mother-in-law herself. She came to a medium-sized house with a huge garden and a pond. I followed her, in anticipation of what kind of house it was and why she had come here. She went inside, I did not go there, so as not to burn my location. I ducked down and began to carefully crawl under the windows. I looked in the window and saw how she sat in the rocking chair, turned on the radio and began to knit. I was very surprised. I found out later that this building was designed for her. It was her dacha, which she bought with her own money 4 years ago. I decided to pretend that I did not know anything and did not follow her. I quickly ran back, got into the car and drove away. I decided that if she decided to keep it a secret, let her think that no one knows about this place. Maybe she calms down so that she's safe and no one will touch her. I never went there again, this is her territory, let her feel comfortable. She never knew that I followed her that day and found out about her secret lair. I wonder how many more secrets this woman hides? I don't think I'll be surprised anymore. Also, one day she decided to surprise us and invited us to the museum. When we got there, we found their paintings that belonged to her. I was not at all surprised, I just wondered what this woman could not do, in what area of life she had not yet achieved success. Once she bought me a cat, the cat is still a member of the family and my best friend to this day. Sometimes her care and support is too much. She has no one to look after, and she takes care of us, although we are adults and we can do everything ourselves, from what she tries to do for us. Sometimes this concern is even annoying, and I am a little aggressive, but my mother-in-law is a lady of a very gentle nature, so I feel sorry for her and I immediately apologize for my aggression. If she had not looked after us, she would have been too lonely and would not have been able to enjoy life so much. One day, my mother-in-law taught me how to play tennis. From that day we go to the playground and practice for a long time. I come, my wife, mother-in-law and her cousin. And we play for a long time. She is a very amazing person. Many years ago, she won $100,000 in the lottery, after which she proved to all of us that strength is in consistency. She bought a ticket every day and was able to win. It sounds very funny, but about permanence, it's true. In any case, it is important. I understood this a long time ago. The only thing my mother-in-law has not learned in her life is to swim. It's very strange, but she's not even eager to learn. He says that he understands perfectly well that this is quite possible, and every person is capable of it. But desire does not burn, and that's it. She has enough skills that she has. My mother-in-law has many friends, and she often goes to gossip or play board games with them. I understand that if she had no friends, she would spend all her free time with us. She always needed communication, although she tries in every possible way to deny it. She says that she communicates with people for the sake of development, and she has no need for this. But you should have seen how funny it is to watch her when it's raining outside and she can't go out to her friends. She sits, solves crossword puzzles very nervously, and constantly looks at the phone, waiting for a text message and a call from someone. In fact, you can talk about her for hours and days. She is so amazing. But this was not to be discussed. There was a small backstory in a big story in the plans, but it so happened that the backstory turned out to be huge, because it's impossible to tell a minimum about my mother-in-law. She's too versatile. If I missed even one point from my retelling, you would not understand who she is. The news of my mother-in-law's decision to leave us came as a surprise. My wife and I have always thought that we have a good relationship with her, and we did our best to make her feel at home in our house. She's been living with us for the last few years since my father-in-law died, and we got used to having her around. The day she told us she was leaving, the atmosphere in the house was tense. We sensed something was wrong, but we didn't know what it was. My wife got a call from her mother who asked her to come to her room. My wife looked visibly upset when she left, and I knew something was wrong. She told me that her mother had decided to leave us. I was stunned. I couldn't believe my mother-in-law would want to leave us, especially after the time we spent together. We had so many shared memories and we became like a family. It was hard to imagine life without her. We tried to talk to her and convince her to stay, but she was adamant that she needed to leave. She said she was suffocating in our house and needed some space. We didn't know what to say or do. We felt like we let her down in some way and couldn't understand why she wanted to leave. The news that my mother-in-law decided to leave us made us feel confused and resentful. We didn't know how to react and we didn't know what the future held for us. We always thought of her as part of our family and it was hard for us to imagine life without her. We knew things would never be the same again, and we needed to find a way to come to terms with her decision. The news of my mother-in-law's decision to leave us hit my wife hard. She had a close relationship with her mother, and she could not understand why she wanted to leave us. When her mother called her into her room to confess her decision, my wife was devastated. She couldn't stop crying and kept asking her mother why she wanted to leave. Her mother explained that she had become stuffy in our house and needed some space. She said she felt like a burden and didn't want to create more problems. She also mentioned that she wants to live independently and make her own decisions. My wife couldn't believe what she heard. She always tried to make her mother feel comfortable and loved, and it was deeply painful for her to realize that her mother was suffocating in their house. She continued to persuade her mother to stay, but her mother was firm in her decision. As the conversation progressed, my wife began to realize that her mother's decision had nothing to do with her or with our relationship. It was more about her mother's need for independence and space. She began to look at things from her mother's point of view and understood why she had to make this decision. The confession was a turning point for my wife. She began to come to terms with her mother's decision and realized that she needed to support her, even if it meant letting her go. She knew that it would be difficult for her to live without her mother, but she also knew that her mother's happiness was important. The confession was painful for my wife, but it also helped her see things in a different light. She realized that her mother was an independent woman who needed to make her own decisions. She also realized that she needed to be supported and understood, even if it meant letting go of someone she loved. After my mother-in-law's confession, we had to come to terms with her decision and find out what the future holds for us. We knew things would never be the same again and we needed to find a way to move forward. At first it was difficult to adapt to life without a mother-in-law. She was a constant presence in our lives and her absence was felt deeply. We missed her cooking, her laughter, and her company. It was hard to imagine life without her. But over time, we began to adapt. We realized that we could stay in touch and have a close relationship even if she wasn't living with us. We began to communicate more often and make plans to visit each other. We also began to appreciate the extra space in our home. We rearranged the furniture, redecorated, and turned her room into a guest room. We began to enjoy the extra privacy and freedom that an empty room in the house provided. However, there were still moments when we missed her very much. Holidays and special occasions seemed different without her. We knew we had to create new traditions and find new ways to celebrate together. Over time, my mother-in-law also adapted to the new life. She found an apartment in a nearby area and started making new friends. She enjoyed her newfound independence and freedom, but she also missed us. We continued to keep in touch and visited each other often. Our relationship has entered a new phase based on mutual love and respect, as well as independence and autonomy. Since my mother-in-law's decision to leave us, we have learned to appreciate the importance of communication, understanding, and unconditional love. We've learned that sometimes letting go is the best thing we can do for the people we love. We also learned that distance should not weaken our relationship, and that love can endure even in the face of change. Over time, my wife and I began to adjust to our new reality without my mother-in-law living with us. We went through a difficult adjustment period, but we were determined to move forward and build a new life for ourselves. One of the things we did was focus on our relationship with each other. We've always been close, but the experience of leaving my mother-in-law has brought us even closer. We began to appreciate each other more and cherish the time spent together. We also started to create new memories and traditions. We went to new restaurants, went on vacations, and explored new hobbies together. We have made a conscious effort to create a life that is fulfilling and meaningful for both of us. In addition, my wife and I began to focus on personal growth. We took classes, pursued new hobbies, and worked on our own goals and dreams. We realized that we were so focused on taking care of my mother-in-law that we neglected our own needs and desires. My mother-in-law also continued to be a part of our lives. We visited her often and included her in our plans and celebrations. We appreciated the independence she had gained and supported her in her new life. Looking back on this experience, my wife and I realized that we have grown and changed in a way that we would never have changed if my mother-in-law had not decided to leave us. It was a painful and difficult experience, but also a catalyst for growth and transformation. As a result, we have become stronger and more resilient. We learned that change is a natural part of life and that we have the strength and love to overcome any challenge. One of the most difficult aspects of my mother-in-law's decision to leave us was the emotional toll it took on our family. It was difficult to come to terms with the fact that she decided to leave, and we felt hurt and abandoned. However, over time, we began to understand and accept her decision. We realized that she made the best choice for her own well-being, and we respected her for it. We also realized that our relationship with her was not determined by where she lived or who she lived with, but by our love and connection to each other. We began to work on forgiving each other for the pain and hurt we caused. We spoke openly and honestly about our feelings and acknowledged the role of each of us in this situation. We also made a conscious effort to let go of any resentment or anger we felt towards each other. Through forgiveness, we were able to begin the healing process. We have learned to communicate more effectively and express our emotions in a healthy and productive way. We have also worked to restore trust and strengthen our relationship with each other. As we continue to heal and grow, we have learned that forgiveness is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. We had to be willing to forgive each other over and over again, even when it was hard. After all, my mother-in-law's passing experience taught us the importance of forgiveness and healing in any relationship. We learned that holding back resentment and anger only causes more pain, and that forgiveness is the key to moving forward and building a stronger and healthier bond with each other. The departure of my mother-in-law from us was difficult, but it was also a valuable opportunity for growth and learning. We have come out of this experience with several important lessons that we carry with us today. First of all, we learned about the importance of communication in any relationship. When my mother-in-law decided to leave, it was a shock to all of us, but it was also the result of a disconnect. We realized that we weren't communicating effectively with each other and that we needed to work on improving our communication skills to avoid similar misunderstandings in the future. We also learned the importance of understanding and respecting each other's needs and boundaries. My mother-in-law made the decision to leave in order to gain more independence and autonomy, and we had to respect her decision, although it was difficult for us. We have learned that in any relationship it is important to recognize and respect each other's individual needs and desires. Another important lesson we learned was the value of forgiveness and healing in any relationship. Through forgiveness, we were able to overcome the hurt and pain we had caused each other and begin the healing process. We realized that forgiveness is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process that requires patience, compassion, and understanding. Finally, we learned that change is a natural part of life and that we have the strength and resilience to overcome any challenge. Even though my mother-in-law's departure from us was an ordeal, we were able to adapt and grow as a family, and as a result we became stronger and more resilient. After all, the experience of leaving a mother-in-law taught us the importance of communication, understanding, forgiveness, and resilience in any relationship. We carry these lessons with us today and use them to build stronger and healthier relationships with each other and with those around us. After the initial shock and pain of my mother-in-law leaving us, we began to focus on moving forward as a family. We knew we had to come to terms with the situation and find a way to overcome it in order to continue to grow and thrive together. One of the first steps we took was to seek professional advice. We found a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and worked with us to process our emotions and develop strategies to move forward. Through counseling, we were able to gain a deeper understanding of each other's points of view and needs, and we were able to begin to rebuild our relationship with each other. We also made a conscious effort to stay in touch with my mother-in-law even though she no longer lived with us. We talked on the phone regularly and visited each other whenever we could. We knew it was important to keep in touch with her and let her know that we still love and care for her. Over time, we began to focus on building a new normal for our family. We have developed new routines and traditions and have learned to adapt to changes in our family. We also made an effort to support each other in new ways, realizing that we must rely on each other more than ever before. Perhaps most importantly, we used the experience of our departing mother-in-law as an opportunity to strengthen our relationship with each other. We have learned to communicate more effectively, to forgive each other more readily, and to be more understanding and responsive to each other's needs. Today our family is stronger than ever. While my mother-in-law's passing was undoubtedly difficult, it taught us important lessons in communication, understanding, forgiveness, and resilience. We are grateful for the growth and learning that has come from this experience, and we continue to work to strengthen our relationship with each other every day.